Hi and welcome to Yahoo Personal Finance. I'm Alex Brophy and joining me today is Financial Spectrum's Brenton Tong to talk about common tax mistakes in the lead up to the end of the financial year. Brenton, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
What are the most costly mistakes you see in your trade?
Well, the most costly mistake that we normally see is people who are probably just that little bit too overzealous about paying tax. From our perspective, tax is just an expense that you're going to incur in earning an income. It's no different to paying your mortgage, paying your car off, or buying groceries at the end of the day. It's just another expense. Part of the process of building up your wealth is to try to minimise your expenditure so you can build your savings and you can put that towards something good. However, what we find quite often is people have this passion for tax, and we find people quite often are making decisions which are really not in their long-term best interest when it comes to actually paying tax.
Right.
A very good example of that would be over the past 15 or 20 years, we've seen ostrich farms, we've seen timber lots, we've seen vineyards, we've seen a lot of things being advertised and marketed to people in order for them to actually save tax. And people would invest $10,000, $100,000, sometimes $1 million into these projects, and ultimately the things fail. So while you may have gotten a tax deduction, you've lost $1 million.
Sure.
So what I find generally is you really need to just treat tax just as an expense. It's no different to getting a better bargain on a lounge, cutting your mortgage rate, or just finding other ways and other things to actually cut from your budget.
Okay, and looking more specifically at common tax mistakes, what are the things that you see people put forward come tax time?
Well, actual mistakes at tax time, a lot of people will forget deductions which they've actually had. So the government does change the rules a fair bit as well, so it is a little bit tricky for people to keep on top of that. But some education expenses may be deductible, some of your travel may be deductible. There are a lot of things you actually can claim as a tax deduction. If you don't keep good records, there's a very good chance that you'll completely lose track. And that could be worth hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to some people. Other things, contributions towards superannuation as well. So, especially in the lead up to retirement, a lot of people want to put a lot of extra money into superannuation. However, there are limits to the amount of money you can actually put in there. And if you go above that limit at the moment, that can be quite costly for you. In that any amount above the limit, you could be losing up to 45% in fines and penalties from the ATO. So that's just a couple. There are lots of mistakes you can make. It's a minefield really, so you really want to make sure you're doing the right thing.
So what's the best approach in making sure you do that right thing? What sort of resources are there to make sure you're fully educated and getting all you can out of the tax?
Well, the obvious first step is an accountant. There are lots of different types of accountants which you can use to help you to prepare your tax return and get good tax advice. You've got your simple lodgement services, and usually you'll find these in shopping centres. They pop up around tax time. They're relatively inexpensive. The people who do it, they are trained. They know what they're doing. But it is for the more simple returns. If you have more complex affairs, if you have a business, if you have investments and a lot more complexity with what you're doing, then you may really want to consider seeking out the services of a chartered accountant who can help you to prepare your tax return.
Right.
And in addition to that, rather than actually just seeing them in July or August or after the event, it's probably for some people a good idea to actually pop in and have a quick chat before the end of financial year. Sure.
If you feel you have been stitched up though in prior years, are some of the mistakes you made able to be fixed retrospectively?
They can be. You really do want to try to minimise the amount of changes you make after the effect, but you can actually contact the ATO and make an amendment to a previous year's tax return.
Right.
The ATO doesn't mind if you've forgotten or made a bit of an error, but if it becomes a systemic problem, if you're doing it all the time, they are going to start to wonder about how good your record keeping is and just how legitimate a lot of your claims are.
Okay, some really great insights there, Brendan. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time on Yahoo Personal Finance.